Hey guys, Victor here, and I'm coming at you again with another first place local Tearlament deck profile. So it is first place, and it's going to be under the new format too. So, I did pretty well. I got a decent grasp of what the meta is like, but you know how it is at locals. People don't really change their decks all that much at the beginning of the format. They kind of just stick to what they're used to. So take it with a grain of salt, because as always, locals don't matter. They're just, pretty much testing ground, so you can try out new ideas and see what works and what doesn't for bigger, larger scale events. So with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into the deck profile. Alright, so kicking off with the monster lineup, we're still playing 2 Tearlaments Reinoheart. As the game continues to advance and I learn the deck more and more, I tend to appreciate this card more and more just because it's a lot more versatile than I gave it credit for, especially since you're able to send cards like your Tearlaments Kashtira to mill 2, or even if you get hit by Shifter or whatever, you can still save your key pieces by once again either sending itself or Tearlaments Kashtira, and then it just enables so many plays. So even if you don't draw it, milling it is fantastic because it gets your bricks into your graveyard, whether it's your sullieks or your Metanoises, and then you can just activate their effects to get more cards and just continue to gain more advantage. So yeah, sometimes, like I said, I consider playing 3, but I think for now 2 is still the perfect ratio. And then you have your shufflers, being the one Scheiren, the one Havnis, and the one Merrli. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, we didn't get any names back from the recent list, so, we just have to make do with what we got. But they're still really good, whether you're summoning them or you're milling them. Yeah, just fantastic cards. Then we're going to be playing 3 Tearlaments Kashtira. This is going to be pretty much one of your main cards and one of the cards that the deck revolves around because it helps you mill 3 and then it mills 2 more. So it mills 2 when it's sent to the grave by card effect and 3 when it's normal or special summoned. So, sometimes you do actually end up tribute summoning this card, as odd as that may seem. And its effect will trigger in that situation. Yeah, just fantastic card. Insta 3-up staple every time, no questions asked. And then next, we're going to be playing the Honorary Tearlament, King of the Swamp. You need this in order to go into rulkaloss and cards like the Graphofusion. If you don't play this, you lose such a big portion of the deck that it actually just cannot function. So 3 King of the Swamp. I know some people play 2, but I think you definitely have to max out on 3 because even though sometimes it is a brick, it's a good brick to have because that means you're always going to be one step closer to having be a key fusion summon. So yeah, 3 for that. And then we play our Shizu cards, the one Agido, the one Kelbek, and the one Keldo. Since the format is brand new, I'm still not sure if I want to play one Mudora, so for now I'm just keeping it to the one Keldo, but we still have at least around a month and a half until, or no, actually even less, we have pretty much a month until Nationals rolls around, so we're going to have to be doing a lot of studying to see if Mudora is actually worth playing. And then we're still playing the Destiny Hero package, so the 2 malicious along with the 1 denier. Shout out to the guy that got top 16 at YCS Philly for finally putting this engine on the map. I've been saying for such a long time that this engine just does so much for the deck. You have to be insane to not be including it in your Tearlament decks. So yeah, because malicious level 6 gives you access to Beatrice. It's a dark, so it has a lot more synergy with your Tearlaments, things of that nature. Then after that, I still play the one Zephyros. I know it's a brick. It's not the greatest, but I just enjoy bouncing my Tearlaments Kashtira and then being able to reuse them during my opponent's turn. That's pretty much what the main purpose of this is, but in addition to that, it's also, a level 4, so it helps you go into cards like your rank 4s, such as Time Thief Redoer, and it being a dark, also has more synergy, so if you use the effect, it's pretty much just a free material for Mudragon and things of that nature. So yeah, just a good card. And then for the final monster, one Destrudo. So Destrudo's Destrudo, you target anything, and then it loses levels equal to the monster you target. So if you target Havnis, for example, which is a level 3, it becomes a 4, and you can synchro that with your malicious or whatever to make Baron to floor, or some other level 7 card that I will be showing later in the profile. But if you've seen my decks, you know what it is. And with that, that's the monster lineup, and now we can finally move on to the spell portion of the deck. So for the spells and traps, we're still going to be playing 3 Primeval Planet Perlereino. It's the main field spell of the deck. It literally does everything. It searches for your monsters. It boosts all your guys by 500 attack, whether they're fusions or tier monsters. Then it pops cards when a tier monster is sent back to the deck. It's just a fantastic card. You have to be playing 3 of them. Just be aware, if Droll is in the format, you should 100% be prioritizing this, just because getting that key search and having the planet established goes a long way in helping your grind game and just being able to play through cards like Droll and Lockbird. So yeah, just keep that in mind, but it's still a really fantastic card. And then after that, we're going to be playing 3 Tearlaments Scheiren. Another really fantastic card that allows you to play during your turn and your opponent's turn on the chance that you actually break and you didn't mill anything, because sometimes you will just miss. There is a lot of luck in this deck, and sometimes you're just not going to be able to hit anything. So Scream will allow us to try again and play during our opponent's turn if our hands are like whack, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes. And then in addition to that, whenever you mill 3 because your opponent normaled or special summoned, or you normal or special summoned, because it triggers during both instances, all your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack for the rest of this turn. So that's a great lingering effect, and it helps ensure that you actually are going to be able to survive. And then lastly, if this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you're able to search one of your Tearlaments traps. And being able to search like Sulliek or Metanoise, and even Tearlaments Scheiren for games 2 and 3, can sometimes just straight up win you the game. So yeah, you always want to open it, you always want to mill it. This card is extremely important to this deck. And then after that, I opted to play 3 Triple Tactics Talents. I still don't really like Triple Tactics Threats just because Drone Lockbird is literally everywhere in this format, and I don't plan on playing it unless cards like Bestials become more popular, which they might. You never know. The metagame changes constantly, so you have to be on your toes. But for now, 3 talents is more than suitable, because yeah, this card just went crazy. I was taking monsters, I was ripping hands apart, I was drawing 2 cards. Like, I was literally using it for every single one of its effects, and it pretty much just always worked out. Yeah, this card is just insane, and I definitely like 3. But if the format does end up shifting to like less hand traps, and we only play against hand traps such as like Ash Blossom, which might happen, because the only reason we're in a really hand trap heavy format is because of Super Heavy Samurai, but that deck doesn't exist anymore, so they might not even be worth playing for all I know. You're gonna have to do like a lot of testing and brainstorming these next few weeks until national season or nationals actually rolls around. But until then, it's fine. But you never know. I'll probably just end up cutting it close to the final end date. And then next, we're gonna be playing 3 Super Polys again. So this is gonna be very, very helpful against Kashtira, because first of all, they're not ripping our extra deck anymore. So that means our Mudragons are safe. And second, we're not losing like a million cards every time either, just because the deal losses ban is huge, and since we're not playing hand traps, that means we're not going to get hit by Unicorn all that often either. So if our opponent is greedy, Super Poly is fantastic. If our opponent isn't greedy, it's still a really solid card. And then there's like just a lot of matchups in general that Super Poly is really good against, like Sprite, for example. If they end on Carrot and Red, Super Poly those away into Garura, and then you just instantly answer 2 negates. But this is definitely one of the more like controversial cards, and I could definitely like see an argument for just replacing this with things like Kaijus or Kurikaras, Lava Golems, Firmo, things of that nature. Just massive board wipes. But I really like Super Poly, especially because of the discarding aspect. So you can get rid of your bricks like Malicious, Agido, Kelbek, Trivikarma, which we are playing, spoiler, and just getting rid of cards like that from your hand, putting them in the grave, and then getting a free monster out of it, it's invaluable. Then after that, we play a bunch of 1-ofs. So we play the 1-of Foolish Burial Goods, the 1-of Foolish Burial, the 1-of Polymerization, the 1-of Terraforming, and then lastly, I still play 1 Tearlaments Grief. I don't know, I love this card. Even if like I don't use it to summon, which I actually do use that effect a lot, what I really like to do is get a special summon a Tearlaments Reinoheart, then send the Reinoheart, then Reinoheart's graveyard effect will activate, and then I can get rid of something like a Sulliek, trigger the Sulliek search while milling, and then just get your combo started. And even then, if it's in your deck, just being able to add back your banished Sullieks, right? Banished Sulliek, banished Metanoise, whatever, goes a long way in helping your grind game and just helping you build an oppressive board that your opponents cannot out. So yeah, just 1. You don't want to brick on it because it is like, it's not the best, but it's still really good. And then after that, we're playing traps. Only 4 of them, like most every tier player. So play the 2 Sulliek, the 1 Metanoise, and the 1 Trivikarma. So Trivikarmas, even though it is a brick, we have way more methods to discard it now because of the fact that we play Super Polymerization, and Trivikarma gets you access to literally any spell or trap that has Visa Starfrost, which just so happens to be our field spells and any Tearlament spell or trap. So it has like a lot of really cool uses that a lot of, like, it's not really hard to explain. It's just the card is so versatile in what it can offer this deck. So even though it is a brick sometimes, I definitely think you should still be playing just the 1, just because of the potential that it has. And with that, that's the main deck, 40 cards like always, and now we can finally move on to the extra deck. Now for the extra deck, we're going to be starting off with the Xyz monsters. So I play the one Time Thief Redoer just because there are a lot of situations where you have like a Scheiren on the field, or even like Reinoheart, for example, right? And you just detach them using Time Thief Redoer's effect, and then you trigger them, and then you can just continue on with your plays. And then being able to just take the top card of your opponent's hand or deck, and depending on what you take, if it's a spell, you get a draw. If it's a trap, you get a free bounce for a face-up card. If it's another monster, whatever. We're already banishing it, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. But just cutting off your opponent's resources and building your own is just it's really good. And then the other Xyz that we play is one Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. As I've stated before, this deck pretty much revolves around Beatrice. That's what we're playing, the Destiny Hero engine. You make the malicious, it's a level 6, and then you combine it with like your other level 6 fusion monsters, whether it's like Garura or Destiny Hero Dangerous. I used to play Diviner of the Herald, but I just opted to cut it for this specific build. But that's because like I want to try out different things, and if I miss it too much, I probably will be adding it back. But if we do add it back, that's another level 6 because it just becomes 6 after you send like a Kelbek or an Agido or whatever. But yeah, you get to Beatrice as soon as possible, and then Beatrice gets you to literally whatever card you want. So it's just that good. And yeah, I love this card in this deck. And then for the synchros, we play one Dawn Dragster. So I know you might be wondering, why don't I play Zeus? I don't enjoy it in this type of deck because for Beatrice, I use up all the material, so Zeus is worthless on her. And then for Time Thief Redoer, I'd rather just have, for the most part, I'd rather Redoer just keep taking resources and building up. But there are some situations that, Redoer just has a bunch of useless materials, so Zeus is the better play. So if you want to cut anything, this is the card to cut for Zeus. But I still like it just because like there are some weird hands where like Destrudo can't make a level 10, so for the Baron de Fleur, so you just settle for the level 7, and having like a spell and trap negate is like invaluable just because this deck sometimes does fold to cards like Book of Eclipse, which people might start playing again, but I'm really doubtful, or Dark Ruler no more, things of that nature. So yeah, just one Dawn Dragster, still a really good card. And then as I said earlier, we play the one Baron de Fleur. It's a free Omni Negate, and then if you use it during the standby phase, you can return it back to the extra deck, and then you can special summon pretty much whatever monster you want as long as it's level 9 or lower. Some really cool monsters you can bring back with this, Tearlaments Kashtira, Tearlaments Reinoheart, and just things of that nature to help you get your engine going and play during your opponent's turn in case your hand is like a little weak. But like especially if you like get nibbed, right, and you've already wasted the Baron de Fleur negate during your turn, you just get that back, make another monster, and just continue on with your day. So that's just a fantastic card, and it's really easy to make because of Destrudo, as we play so many different levels that it's not difficult to make level 10. Like you can target any level 4, which you have a bunch of, and then your Destrudo becomes 3, and then you synchro with your Tearlaments Kashtira, or as I stated earlier, if you have like a Destiny Hero Denier or a Tearlaments Havnis, who are both level 3, you can target those and it becomes level 4, and then you combine it with your level 6 monsters, whether it's Garura, Destiny Hero Dangerous, or Malicious. So you have multiple ways to get to it, and it's extremely easy. It's just sometimes you're not always going to be able to. So that's why we played like the Destrudo for the backup. But if you can get to it, you should get to it, or you should make it every time. And that's for the synchros. Then we play links. So we play the one Barricade Ward Blocker. This is basically just because it's a free discard. So much like Super Poly, it helps us get rid of bricks like the Ishizu monsters if we don't have a way to get rid of them, Trivikarmas, Malicious, Zephyros, whatever, you name it. And then during the end phase too, it's able to get back your resources, right? Because it's able to add one continuous spell or a field spell from your graveyard to your hand. So if you're able to mill like a Scream or a Planet during the end phase, you can add one back depending on what your hand is in order to get ready for the next turn. So yeah, and then it also protects your face-up spells from being destroyed. So if you get hit by like Lightning Vortex, or not Lightning Vortex, Lightning Storm, sorry about that, and they call spells and traps, sure, that's fine. You keep your Planet, you keep your Scream, and you just go on with your day. So yeah, I really like this card. And then we still play Cross Sheep. This card's okay, it's basically just like a win more greed card, but I still like it. It's not as effective since we're not playing the Diviner, but it's still able to do some really cool stuff, especially if you're bringing back like a Tearlaments Reinoheart, for example, and just because you haven't used the effect to send, right? So you go Cross Sheep, bring back Reinoheart, send, fusion, whatever. So yeah, it still has like a lot of really cool uses. And then we're still playing the one underworld goddess of the closed world just because I don't want to lose the towers monsters. That's the only reason it's here. That's it. We don't need Masquerena. We're just going to make this the hard way every time because towers monsters give this deck a lot of trouble, especially if you're playing against like Dragon Link. Like that deck already plays Bestials, but if they end on Borland, which can't be targeted and it's unaffected by no, it can't be targeted and it negates. This is going to be your main method to try and just get rid of that. So yeah, that's it for the links. And then we play fusions. So we play one Destiny Hero Dangerous. Dangerous is a fantastic card. It also unclogs your hand by discarding everything that you don't want, and then it foolishes any Destiny Hero monster. So you typically want to send your malicious, but there are some situations where you send the denier instead. But those are few and far in between. You typically just want the malicious because that means you're going to have an insta Beatrice, which, is the main game plan for this deck, just because Beatrice does so much for it. And then after that, it just becomes free fusion fodder for your like Dragostapelias or your Mudragons or whatever. But yeah, just card is insane. And then speaking of Dragostapelia, it's part of our Super Poly targets, so we play one. But even without Super Poly, it's still incredibly easy to make because you just use any of your fusion monsters plus a tier card. Then we play the one Garura, which doesn't come up often, but it's still nice to have just in case. Also, the one Mudragon of the Swamp, which actually does get summoned a lot, whether it's by your own cards or your opponent's cards. This card's just fantastic, and then it's incredibly powerful at helping you deal against Kashtira, just because you just change this to the type that you value the most, and they can't target any of your cards. So yeah, one Mudragon. After that, I opted to put back in the one Guardian Chimera, just because I don't know. I didn't really enjoy Chaos Angel when I was playing it, and there still are like a lot of other techs you can use, but I just think Guardian Chimera answers it the most, especially against like if trap heavy decks do become like more popular. This is gonna be like one of your main answers, especially if like Eldritch or like Floodgate, what's that, Labyrinth, for example, where they play skill drain right. You just go Guardian Chimera, fuse, activate its effect, and then you typically want to have like a Tearlaments monster as like Chainlink 2 in order to help you dodge skill drain, just eradicate all their back row. So, and then even with like Sky Striker, right, it's going to become more popular thanks to Engage being at 2. If you have Poly in the grave, they cannot target this. And a Sky Striker deck that cannot target is not going to function. So, yeah, Guardian Chimera, definitely the way going forward. And then you still play the one Grapha just because, play King of the Swamp. It's a free fusion summon in case you don't have the rulkaloss. Sometimes, its effect does come up to just, like change an opponent's monster's effect or just spell or trap effect to make you discard one. And you can just win off of that a lot of the times because if you send like a key card like a Sulliek that you can break on, or there's also like a really cool play, for example, right, where you only have one card in hand, and let's say it's Tearlaments Kashtira. So you activate Grapha's effect to change their card, and then you chain the Tearlaments Kashtira in your hand. So you basically just change your opponent's monster effect for no reason, and you still get to summon your tier cash. And just, just little plays like that go a long way in helping you win the game. Then we play the one kaleido-heart. It's kaleido-heart. It ends games on its own because it's able to spin cards back, and then you combine it with the planet to destroy cards, and then it floats into other cards, and yeah, this card just does so much. And then we're going to end it on Tearlaments Rulkaloss because Tearlaments Rulkaloss, it's going to be one of your main protection against cards like Nibiru, which, might become popular. They might not. And even if they're not, it's fine because there's a lot of cards that activate the special summon, and Tearlaments Rulkaloss will be there every step of the way to stop them. And with that, that's the Tearlament deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!